Hey there people, my name's Trudy, One Grounded Angel. Welcome to the last full week of December, which I'll be reading angel cards for. Hard to believe. So we're starting with Monday the 21st of December and going through to the 27th. The first thing I should talk to you about is that we have something called the Great Conjunction happening astrologically. Monday night here in Australia, check the times in your area, but it's been called in the media the Christmas star because what's happening, and this happens every 20 years, Jupiter and Saturn are going to be so close together, they're going to look like they're one from our vantage point here on Earth. So that conjunction, that closeness means something interesting for us. It's happening in the sign of Aquarius, which is the sign of humanitarianism, networks, technology, the future, hopes and dreams. And what's interesting is that Jupiter and Saturn are quite an interesting combination to be combining their energies because there's quite a conflict there. So Jupiter is the sign of expansion. It wants us to grow. It wants us to go big or go home. Saturn wants us to stay home. Basically, it's the sign of restriction, of structure, of doing the foundations, and it really isn't the gambler. So when you've got those two together, pulling you in different directions, what you're left with is this energy that's forcing you to examine, do I need to take more risks? Do I need to pull back? What do I need to let go of in order to expand? What do I need to step into in order to, get out of my rut, I guess, if we could put it like that. So it's that balance between expansion and playing it safe. And we need to be somewhere on the spectrum in different situations. For example, say financial, we don't want to go too big, that's going to cost us, but we also don't want to be too conservative or we won't grow our funds. So that's one way to look at it. Equally in romance, we need to be taking a little bit of a risk because relationships are scary, let's be honest. But we don't need to go jumping head first into relationships because our head needs to be involved. The head, the part that says, this person's got a bit of baggage. Is this really what we want? So it's it would depend, where it shows up on your chart is going to be different depending on what sign you are. But it's worth just thinking about those general things that I talked about. And of course, if you are in a part of the world where you can see it clearly, you might, and it's not overcast, you might get some great photos as well. It's going to look pretty spectacular. So Monday's card here is Sekhmet, be strong. And this is all about, well, being strong, almost like that Jupiter energy really, going hard, I guess, and making sure you realize that you're not playing small because of fear of what could go wrong. And of course, if I said to someone who is dealing with anxiety or is a very play it safe person, oh, you've just got to jump in head first, that's going to freak them out. So I don't talk about jumping from one end of the spectrum to the other. I'm talking about taking tiny steps in the opposite direction. So doing one thing that scares you, pushing the boat out a little bit more, rather than doing too much and then freaking out your energy so that you retract and go the opposite way. So we're always capable of much more than what we realize as well. It's another theme that comes up with this card. And we've got what it takes to work through what's coming up. Just make sure that your desire to protect yourself doesn't leave you missing out on opportunities. Tuesday's card here, Maya, is about schooling and study and education. That's very Jupiter-esque. Jupiter is all about education. This doesn't have to be like actually going to school, but if that's something you've been thinking about doing, definitely this would encourage you to do it. We're all students of life. I talk about this a lot, about the Earth School kind of concept, which is Brian Weiss's words. Our souls came here because it's the best place to learn. And that means, unfortunately, a lot of challenges, but those can sow the seeds for our growth. And so what is it you need to be working on in terms of your personal growth right now, and how are you going to do that? Are you going to work with a mentor or a coach? Are you going to go and do some workshops and seminars maybe? I don't know, it's up to you. But you can ask your angels to help you figure out what is the best way for you to do that. But certainly if you're thinking of working in education or you're thinking of enrolling in some education, this would be an absolute green light for that. Let's go to Wednesday now and see what's coming up. Cancel, clear, delete. This is all about the power of our mindset. So cancelling out thoughts that are helping create things you don't want. Now, the law of attraction, when people talk about that, they talk about how you've got to be positive, and that's all well and good, but what I find is it's really not possible to be positive all the time, and I do not recommend you try, because you're going to end up in a toxic positivity situation where you're trying to pretend everything's all right when it's not, and denying your emotions never ends well. You'll bottle up and explode. And so instead, what I would say is don't pretend things are great when they're not. Don't try to when you're talking about your goals or the things you're trying to manifest, don't get so hell-bent on everything don't be a purist, I guess. I would say don't try to aim for 100% only positive thoughts about this thing happening in my life, because you're going to have doubts. That's the human condition, and fears. So don't try and ignore those. But the thing to aim for is making sure that those doubts and fears aren't a significant majority of where your mind is going. If that's the case, then one way that, and this has been coming up for a few people I've been working with lately, meditation is a really great way to learn greater control of your thoughts. And although it does take regular investment of your time to yield the results, the other thing to think about is just noticing what's going on in your thoughts, and maybe asking yourself some questions about where this comes from. For example, if there's, say, a fear of failure, or say you're trying to do something and you keep getting these thoughts of, oh, you screw everything up, or oh, this will never work out for someone like you, look how you effed up this other thing. If that's the case, there may be some underlying trauma from a past failure that you need to work through. And so seeing an energy healer to help clear that trauma in your energy will be helpful, because even though you might not consciously even be thinking about that before anymore, and be thinking, oh, I don't even think about that anymore, it's not even it's not playing on my mind, I don't give it any time. I think I've moved on from that. We don't often realize that with healing there can be different layers of traumas, and I use the word trauma not just to mean the big stuff. Things going wrong can leave traumas in our energy. Basically, they leave an imprint, and that gives rise to limiting beliefs like, I can't do anything right, and that leads up further up the chain to us restricting our actions, not trying to achieve things, not applying for promotions, etc. So we really have to look at what's going on underneath, and it's not always easy to do that on your own. So again, an energy healer is the way to go there, or a spiritual coach. So you might need to clear what's going on underneath in order to change the way you think. Maybe your thoughts are being guided by something you can't even see, and trust your intuition on that. But as an overall theme, just noticing when those thoughts are coming up, something you can do to cancel out the energetic effect of what you've said or thought is this cancel, clear, delete formula. I just say it as Control, Alt, Delete, because that's the way I remember it. It's the same thing. The angels know that's what I mean. And it just means if I thought something negative about someone, and I thought, oh, actually, I don't want to create, ill will in their life, or to be attracting ill will into mine because I've put out this negative thought, I'll go Control, Alt, Delete. It doesn't take back the thought. We don't have a time machine as yet. And what it's doing is cancelling out the energetic imprint, if I can put it like that. So let's go to this card deck now for Thursday, the 24th of December. I still cannot believe, at the risk of sounding 100 years old, I cannot believe this is the last full week of December. So here we have clear audience. I've talked about the 4 clears before. The 4 clears are the 4 different ways we can receive information commonly from our intuition. And usually people are stronger in 1 or 2 different areas. So and my attention is being drawn to the star on here, given we're talking about the Christmas star. So I think I'll explain clear audience first of all. That is when we receive messages from our intuition in the form of sound, things we hear. These can be external sounds such as sirens, or sometimes snippets of other people's conversations can really resonate, but I'm pretty sure that's something I needed to hear. Sometimes they can be internal sounds, like I can hear sometimes words that are not voiced by me, that is my intuition. Clairvoyance is about sight, visions, dreams. Sentience is all about feeling, sensing things. And clear cognizance is about intuitive thoughts and ideas that come, cognitively. So I guess pay attention to your thoughts is really the best thing to do there. sounds. Pay attention to the sounds you hear. And as I say, they can be internal or external. Music is another big one. Sometimes a lyric can jump out at you, or you can hear a song that is linked to a particular event in your life, and you know that there's something there you need to know. Perhaps it reminds you of a person who is thinking about you at this very moment, because we can send out energy when we think about other people, in a sense, and maybe that's a sign for you to get in touch with them. Okay, this is Friday. Do you know what? Every Christmas, I know not all of you are in countries that celebrate Christmas, but I am, and so I tend to use the Saints and Angels card deck, which is the very first card deck I ever got, and I use it because it does invoke some of the, I guess, the Christian kind of messages, because it uses saints. I'm personally not Christian, but this kind of work doesn't restrict itself to a religion. Spirituality is above all of that. And this is the second Christmas I can think of that this particular card has come up. It's the Saint Nick card, which is pretty appropriate for Christmas Day. So generosity, St. Nicholas of Myra, probably said that wrong. And that is who the Saint Nick, so the Santa Claus story is based on. So very interesting there, thinking about being generous with, as opposed to the consumer messages we're hearing. It's more about being generous with love and time. So having a bit more empathy towards the people around you. Now I know for many of you, Christmas is really fraught. You might have families where there are toxic dynamics. Perhaps you have recently cut ties with people that you're not seeing. Maybe you'll be lonely this Christmas. There are still ways to be generous. Maybe the person you need to be generous to is yourself, to remind yourself you're doing the best you can. Maybe it's, please don't think this isn't telling you to head to the mall, which no one should really be doing in COVID times anyway, but to be splashing the cash around. Angels don't care about money. That's not really what this is about. It's about being generous and of spirit. So again, you could extend empathy towards people. Notice if you're jumping into judgment towards people for the things they do. And this doesn't mean tolerating or excusing bad behavior. It just means understanding there might be a lot more going on with them than what you realize. Now here we have activist here. I know not all of you are fans of Mother Teresa, who's depicted here, so I would encourage you to think about the essence of this card, which is about standing up for what is right. And maybe the thing that is right is you doing what is best for you. I mean, of course, activists, we know from social media, you can be an activist for a particular cause. And if you're committed to being an activist, you're probably doing that well beyond what just social media messages. So if that's something you're thinking about, definitely go ahead with it. But I would, for most of us, or for many of us, this is more about being an advocate than an activist. It's not necessarily about changing community minds. It's about being an advocate on a lower scale, a smaller scale, for the people around you who need you. Again, it could be you. Standing up for what is right, not letting people get away with what's going on, calling out bad behaviour. Now we do know there can be consequences. Sounds bad when I say consequences, but there can be effects to that, so we have to be willing to deal with those if they come up. But perhaps this message will help you with that. Saturday's card is Have Confidence. This is Archangel Michael here, the spiritual warrior with the shield and the sword. So we are all, links back quite nicely to Monday's card actually, this message here about being confident to go ahead with what you want to do, the changes you're making, and knowing that you are capable of much more than what you realise. And there could be lots of reasons you've been struggling with that. Again, past failures or past shame you have about things you've done. And so you might like to work with someone to help you clear those and to help you get unstuck. I'm just going back to this activist card here. I'm very aware that this card is going to be a little bit confronting for some of you. Whenever we've got two cards for a day, what I find is that one will speak more to most people than the other. So go with the one that speaks more to you. Sometimes people say both of them are relevant, and that can definitely happen. But if you're not really getting one of these cards, go with the one that does speak to you. And I think certainly this one around acting from a place of love could be most relevant to all of us, regardless of where in the world you are and what you might be doing. This this activist could even be linked back to this being strong again. I feel like we're being challenged here to step up. Thanks, Jupiter. Sunday, we're up to Sunday. On which card deck? I haven't used this one yet, so we'll go with that. So it's really humid here at the moment. It makes the cards stick together a little bit more, making my shuffling even more awkward than usual. Sunday, totally different note here. We have romance. Okay, so we had, I think 2 weeks ago, a lot of messages around this idea of romance. And perhaps this is something that you're working on for the next year. You're trying to manifest a romantic relationship or bring more romance into your current relationship. So you might like to use this as an opportunity to think about how you're going to do that. You might like to look at, is there enough romance in your life? Remember, this is not necessarily tied to a relationship. Romance is about passion, and we all need that in our lives. It's not about another person necessarily. We need to be passionate in some form about something that we're doing, what we're here to do, how we experience the world. We can't just be robots. The other thing you might like to think about here is romance as like a light-hearted kind of energy, something about having fun. And so you might like to even have some fun with your friends. Just think about something fun you can do with them, organising some sort of Zoom trivia, I don't know, I'm just spitballing here, some sort of COVID safe activity where you can all do something fun and something that is going to help bring back that energy of lightheartedness rather than the heaviness that might be going on because of the world. It's an interesting week here. I do feel like these messages around courage and strength are coming up really strong. I think some of you may be facing some big changes. Some of you may just be getting prods. I feel some of you have been ignoring the messages you've been getting from your intuition about things you need to step up and do, things you've been ignoring. So maybe that's what is going on here for you. What else is there coming up here? Yeah, I guess that's really the big one. It's a bit of a mixed bag otherwise, but there's certainly lots of opportunities to apply these messages to our lives. And remember to always trust your intuition on these. So I am going to post this on my social media, each card for each day, and you might find that by the time the day comes around, you're seeing it slightly differently. Your circumstances have changed, some new information has come up and has shifted the way you see it. Always go with what speaks most to you in regards to your circumstances, what's going on, and how your intuition is really communicating with you, maybe through sound, I don't know. And the other thing to remember is that I am available for personal sessions if you would like a personal angel card reading or an energy healing session to help you shift whatever's blocking you from moving forward energetically, which is weird because we can't see it. Sometimes I certainly had a sense before I started energy healing. I was hitting something like a brick wall that I couldn't get past in a certain area of my life, and energy healing absolutely shifted things for me so I could move forward. So that might resonate with you. If you want more information, head to my website www.onegroundedangel.com, and you can find more information there. If you are on Instagram, my Instagram is @onegroundedangel, and you can also follow the link in my bio to find out more information about what I do, the articles I've posted, etc. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a fruitful last full week of December for 2020. I know it's been a rough ride, but as long as we can learn the lessons, we'll be a better place to move forward. Thanks everybody for watching. Take care.